Hello. Hi, guys. We have many things today that we're going to cover. My name is Zachary from Suikoden Club, and I'll be one of your hosts today. So let's see who's in the chat today. Can you all see the chat box? Just want to make sure everything's running smoothly today. Okay. Nice. Okay, I'm just going to turn one of these lights off. I'm sure it's a bit blinding. Keep forgetting to turn that light off. Nope, that's all right. That's fine. Yeah. So, while we're waiting for the others, I'll just give you a bit of a rendition of the tracks. Oh, great. Oh, what happened? Oh. It's 10:40. Yeah, like we were trying to balance it out because there are four of us, and yeah, 10:40 a.m. Yeah, it's in the morning, 10:40 in the morning. It's a.m. Yep. Um, yeah, there's another one of us coming on right now. We actually were gonna have more people though for the stream. One of them. One of them is from Canada, another is from, well, Indonesian, one's from Malaysia. So in Canada, I think I forget. It's 8:40 p.m. and Malaysia's 2 hours behind. Indonesia's 3 hours behind. So I'll just see other members coming on very soon. Okay. So Canada is. I know you're not from Canada. Like you're from. Okay. Is that Arkansas? Is that how you say it? I've heard people say it like that. I just don't know if I'm getting it wrong. That's why I'm asking. But I'm saying that so Canada's an hour ahead of Arkansas. I know Toronto, Canada. Okay. Just see. Engineering. I think he's from Toronto. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Our other host will be here in a minute. Yeah. So we'll just wait for him. Just may as well for that. Hello, Zach.
Can you hear me?
Yep. We have a viewer already.
Really?
Yep. Mike Dalton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Donnie will be on soon, but yeah, I'm just thinking. Actually, he's on the YouTube stream.
Why don't we just do it on your channel for tonight, and then set up
Yeah.
your channel?
Yeah. Well,
during
the channel's set up. It's just that it needs 24 hours to. Yeah.
Okay. All good.
Yep. Huh. Hey, Donnie.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Yes, you're right.
Sorry. Question mark.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
for you, Zach.
So what?
8:45 p.m.
For me, yeah, it's 10:45 a.m. for me.
It's 7:45
Just
a.m.
gonna
for me.
read what. Okay, so we have many topics to cover today.
Yeah.
So, how do you guys like to do this? Just would you want to get more people on, or?
Is there anyone watching the channel right now?
Yes, Mike Dalton. So I believe we can start now if you guys want.
Sure.
That's all good, Zach.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so the topics we want to cover today. We are.
Was there a topic?
Yes. Of course there is. The starters, yep, who we are as a group. So, we want to give a brief introduction about ourselves and what made us start all of this and how all of our experiences with the series. So, I'll start off. My name's Zachary, Zachary Essie, and I'm from Australia, and I got into Suikoden since the original, ever since I was a kid, and that's what got me into the series, and the first Suikoden I ever finished was the second game. Cool. Awesome. And yeah, that's my introduction to the series. Zach or Donnie?
Well, I talked last time about my introduction to the series. Though I guess I didn't really introduce myself too well last time. My name is also Zach. I also go by Choco online. A lot of my friends know me by that. I have my own streaming channel, and I guess I'm just an all-around nerd. I play lots of games. I watch anime. I like comics. I work from home, so it lets me, gives me lots of opportunities to do things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the first game I completed, it was also the second game for me.
Donnie?
Yeah, just like both of you, I finished my first Suikoden game at my around, was it I forgot what's my first Suikoden game though. Was it the first one or the second one?
That's awesome, Mike.
I played the first and second kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think me too.
I played it one after the other, but like the problem was with the first game, I explained in another stream where I accidentally, I think I broke. Kid me just wasn't that good with stuff. I don't know, like, I don't know how that happened actually. But yeah, actually, times don't always change in that sense. I did have a Suikoden game from Canada, but oh man, like it didn't. That wasn't good. That was
Wait, a
recent too.
Suikoden game in Canada? What do you mean?
Huh? I got
Did you
the
say
NTSC copy. But it's funny because I take good care of my Suikoden 4 and 5 and 3, 4, and 5. I've taken prime care of. That's why I'm glad I played on PSN though, the first game. I'm not a disc guy. Discs are just, I don't know. So, yeah, let's see. So is there anything else you want to say, Donnie?
Oh yeah, talking about the PSN. What do you
No.
think?
Like, I mean about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about the release on PS3 last year? Was it last year?
yes? I think it was great, and then they didn't release it on PS4, so that was also great.
Which one? Wait. Which one?
Did they
All of them.
release
None of
one?
them are on.
Oh,
None
all
of them are
of
on
them.
PS4, and none of them are on PS Now.
Yeah, no. Oh, that's it. I mean, like, well, anyway, that's
Which
yeah.
is an extremely disappointing thing to me, and a huge step backwards.
It is a huge step backwards because then what was the point of getting on the PS3 if they can't continue, like, especially now that the PS4, especially on a console for a new generation, like, you think if you're trying to introduce to a new generation, then you should keep trying that along. Like, I'm glad that they have Dark Cloud and all that on there, but no, is it Dark Cloud? Did they have Dark Chronicle? Oh, Dark.
They have Dark Cloud 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Which is really great, because those are also actually really good games that I recommend everyone check out. But unfortunately, they don't have Suikoden yet. Which, I'm guessing is Konami's fault, but I'm not too sure.
But anyway, so our next topic for today. So
you know what I've been wanting to talk about?
Yep.
Like a lot, because you and I were talking about this outside of the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Gene.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah, if you want to talk about, I mean, like, I don't mind that one. Like, I was just saying, yeah, you know what, with this next topic, you probably wouldn't really need to introduce it because we all know the games inside out, really.
Yeah.
No matter what game you've played, you'll know who Jean is because she's in all of them, including Tactics.
Huh.
What's her real role, actually?
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, is what everybody's... Because we don't know a lot about her. And she's one of those characters who, no matter what community you're part of in the Suikoden universe, she's mentioned, always mentioned.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be good to bring her up first because of the fact that no matter what game you've played, you'll know who she is. And she's somebody who I think everybody kind of wonders about. I have a really interesting theory about her that I talked to Zachary a bit about.
We talked in depth about this.
Yeah, we did. For me,
I think Mike wants to know why Gene. Well, I don't know. Maybe our voices aren't carrying it through. Just I don't know. Maybe he's talking about something else. I'll just make sure.
Well, let's talk about what we do know first. Because I don't know how much exactly you guys know about Jean. I do know that she has something called the Charm Rune, which she has in every single game, and you cannot remove it from her. And it seems to have something to do with people's perception of her, because the characters in game tend to see her as rather sexualized.
Yeah.
Leery, yeah, exactly. She's a very lewd character. She tends to be, although not always, but she does generally tend to be very seductive in the way she speaks, especially in the fourth game.
Do you think the Charm Rune could, like, we didn't talk about this, do you think the Charm Rune has something to do with it?
I think it could. When you play in the third game, there's a little, like, mini bonus thing you can do where you can walk around the castle as the dog. I'm not really sure why they included this.
Oh, in 3, I remember.
But if you speak to Jean while you're in command of the dog, she says to the dog that, in quote, "You can see my true form. Don't tell anybody," and then she giggles.
Well, and then she goes.
And so that was like a really interesting thing to me. I actually just thought about this yesterday when I was thinking about it, because I was like, oh yeah, I remember her saying something weird to the dog about that.
Wait, so she just says, "You can see my true form," and then that's it?
Yep. It's just one line. She just she says something along, I'm like paraphrasing a little bit, but she says something along the lines of, "You can see my true form, but don't tell anybody." Because obviously the dog can't tell anybody because it's a dog.
Yep. It's a dog.
But it's a very weird thing to say. Like,
well, maybe she's really an old woman. Maybe she's like really old looking, and without the Charm Rune or whatever, she has like the illusion's gone.
So that's a theory I've heard people mention on some of the forums that I'm on. People have mentioned that perhaps she's like an old hag, and she actually doesn't look like that at all.
And she
could be like Crawley, where she doesn't look exactly as attractive as people see her, which is entirely possible given how long she's been around. And I know Konami officially said she doesn't have a true rune either, which is another interesting thing, because all the other characters who've been around a long time, it's generally because they had a true rune and that made them immortal. But Jean does not have one.
But they're like, I know, it's funny, Mike, you bring up the time rune. Is the blinking rune supposed to be time? Just quick deviation. Like, is there such a thing as time, like a time rune in Suikoden, or are we supposed to expect the blinking rune? It's never been mentioned
as a time rune. The blinking rune itself is a teleportation rune, which Vicky uses, which is how Vicky is able to get around between the different timelines, because she literally teleports herself through time.
Yeah.
Completely by accident, I might
add. Yeah, that'd be true. But what
that's an interesting theory. Somebody in the comments said that perhaps Jean can manipulate the blinking rune and is following Vicky.
That could be possible. I mean, I've heard of things in the Suikoverse, like, look at what's her name. It's been done before. What's her name did it? Millie.
What did Millie do?
In Suikoden. I remember years ago when I was looking up on Suikoden, other people had traveled with Vicky through through a teleportation.
Oh, I actually did not know that.
Millie, that girl from Suikoden 2?
Yeah, with Bonaparte.
The girl, my
And I think
friend
Meg as
Hotspot's
well.
favorite character.
And I
She
think
uses a
Meg,
boomerang.
yeah, she's cool. And I think Meg went with them as well. So it's very possible, actually.
Oh, was it? I remember it was Meg. I didn't realize Millie followed them too.
She did, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, that's entirely possible.
So if anything, if they can do it, Jean probably could too.
But I want to talk about my theory because I think it's at the very least something to think about.
Oh yeah, of course. Yep.
I'm sure, Donnie, you're aware of the Pokemon anime, right?
Uh-huh.
So you know how in the Pokemon anime there's a character called Nurse Joy and also Officer Jenny.
Yeah.
They appear throughout the anime, but are all different. Technically speaking, they're all different characters, although they all act and look exactly the same. So I call this the Nurse Joy theory, which is basically that all the genes that we encounter throughout the series are actually different people.
Each games are actually different people.
Yeah, so they're all called Jean, they all look like Jean, and they all have a charm rune. But outside of that, they're actually different people. Whether this is that they're all sisters, or that they're all related in some way, or that they actually just are different people. Perhaps it's also related. I was also going to say the charm rune maybe could even be what makes them become a Jean. I'm not too sure. Like, I haven't, obviously thought this theory out to the point where, like, I've written an essay about it. But, like, my idea is sort of that there's a bunch of different genes, basically.
I do think it's plausible. I mean, like I said, with the other one, like, the thing is, all the theories.
She isn't going TE.
Yeah.
I'm Jean. That's how I think she sounds in my head.
I actually think that she'd have. There's actually an anime that I know that, like, if I could imagine her English voice, there's this famous voice act. I don't know if she's famous. Like, she's got a very, like, mature voice. I think she usually plays, like, more of commander roles, like in animation.
Yeah, I was kidding.
Like, I could really imagine her being like that.
In Fire Emblem, in the newest Fire Emblem, Fates, who reminds me of Jean. She's very mature but extremely seductive. Camille, I think her name is. And Camilla, that's her name. And I picture her voice sounding like Camilla. I wish I could, like, play a voice clip right now for you, because I think you would agree with me. But, no, I picture her sounding quite wise as well. She has a voice in Suikoden Tactics, so.
Oh, shit. I'd have to check that out, actually, then.
She doesn't speak, like, speaking lines, but when she gets hit by an enemy or when she does, like a spell or something, she has a voice actress, technically.
In some Suikoden games, I think in the Japanese versions, I think they're given a voice. Some people who weren't given a voice in the English version, I think, were given a voice in the Japanese version.
Didn't she speak in 5?
I think she did.
I think she did. I actually just, like, having weird flashbacks of 5 now. Because I've only played through the 5th game once. Oh, sorry, twice. I've played through it all the way twice. But the first time I played it was a really long time ago.
5?
And the second time was 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, the 5th game. But I believe she speaks, and she does have a kind of seductive sounding voice, but it definitely is a mature voice. Like, she doesn't sound like a girl. She sounds like a woman, if you know what I mean by that.
And someone in the comments actually just stated, now, yeah, Jane speaking father, she's in a few story cutscenes.
She's definitely speaks. I just can't remember quite when it was. I think it was the cutscene with Kyle.
Yeah, because she's actually important in 5. Like, what I mean is, like, in 5, she actually has more of a purpose. That's got to do with the summary.
Like, everything's coming back to me. She speaks to Zaras.
Is it Zaras
the
or
vampire
Zaraste?
lady. Or vampire. I can't believe I just called her a vampire. The pale lady who is super powerful mage. She takes Luke's Start of Destiny spot. I think it's Zaras. I can't pronounce the names. Oh my god. Zaras.
And she's one of the few characters that they actually allowed her to show
cleavage?
Yeah.
Excuse me. You can say cleavage here. We're all adults.
Yeah. That's true. But I'm just saying, it is interesting that, well, I was actually going to use another word, but yeah. But anyway, like, I'm just saying, though, it's interesting because usually in Suikoden, they don't usually expose a character. Even with Jean, like, yeah, they'll show a lot, but they, I don't know, with Jean, do they draw a line?
I think that's the point of, well, it's not the point of her character, but I think it's what she, as a character, wants. I think she wants people to
see her as beautiful.
See her that way for whatever reason. I have no idea what the reasoning is, if it's to try to distract people from her ability, or if she's just likes the attention. I don't know.
You're never too old to like attention.
The interesting thing is, none of the game's heroes seem to be attracted to her. I don't know if it's that they aren't openly attracted to her, but they don't seem to, like, go up to her and be all gaga over her like all the other guys.
Then again, it is quite hard when you're...
I feel like it's almost... I feel like she's doing it maybe to test them. Like, to try to test their will. Which is why, like, when the hero asks, can you assess a rune for me, instead of just flirting with her, she's like, oh, I'm so glad someone's not flirting with me for once. But I don't think it's that she's, like, glad that they're not flirting, but it's more like a test.
Yeah. But what's interesting, whenever I play Suikoden 2, when it comes time to do the thing with the gypsies like Eile, Rena, and Bolgan, whenever they ask for help, I always pick I think it's the last response. Yeah, it's always great to help beautiful ladies, and I always pick that option every time. And I just love Joey's face.
I believe he even says, it's my pleasure.
Yes, my pleasure.
Such a beautiful woman.
That's the one. Yes, that's the one. And I love Joey's reaction. It's just like, I'm like, yeah, Joey, I'm not giving out any other answer, Joey. I'm just not doing it, man. We all know what Rena's capable of doing.
She's capable of having very adult conversations with people.
Yep. Exactly.
Very adult conversation. Well,
very.
I didn't get the joke at first.
I like that it goes right over Joey's head.
Yeah,
like,
Joey
he doesn't even. He's just like, huh?
And this is why it's
like,
weird.
Oh my god, not again.
2 new tricks to get past guard Victor and Rena.
Victor's good trick where he punches the guard in the nose.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty
Rena...
sure he punches the guard in the nose. That's what I always figured.
But
although the game makes it look like he full-on tackles the guy. body checks him like across the room, which I would love to see in an anime.
If they make an anime of Suikoden.
It'll never happen.
And they left that part out, I would be extremely sad.
Oh, that'd be disappointing. I mean, that's one of the classic scenes. But how would they pull off the Rena scene, though? Like, that'd just be like, what
She would just take the guard by the shoulder and just be like, let's just go over here. And they'd walk into the trees, and then there would just be like a blackout, and then it would come back, and they'd just walk back over, and the guard's clothes would be all messed up and ruffled. And
that would be
blushing.
You know what though?
And
Japanese animation doesn't actually have as much censorship as well, so they don't really care showing some sexual scenes in a lot of animation. So it's entirely possible to do that.
They don't seem to censor as much now as they used to, though.
Like when I went to Akihabara last year, that really, it wasn't that hard. You didn't have to go inside a shop to see sexual stuff.
It wasn't that hard, did you say?
It wasn't that hard. No, what I mean is you don't have to look. You don't have to look for it. It's just there. Huh. That's true. I agree.
I was just saying in the comments, you could always use your face as ID. They're like, we need you to prove who you are. Victor's like, isn't my face enough? That's not how ID works, Victor.
But what would be funny though, Mike, you just reminded me of something. As soon as you said that, I was thinking of the Avengers movie, but I'm not gonna spoil that. It's just what you said.
Don't spoil it.
That's why I said I'm not gonna spoil it. That's why I said I'm not gonna spoil it. Those were my words. I haven't seen Infinity War yet, and everybody's
probably just like, how could you not have seen Infinity War? I don't have money, okay? I just moved. Leave me alone.
There's no shame on that. And there's no shame in that.
Oh, I'm going to see it like as soon as I can.
Yeah.
I'm amazed with myself how I haven't managed to get spoiled too much. I had one kind of big spoiler because of somebody on Facebook who I'm kind of a little bit miffed with right now, but it's not their fault. It's one of those movies where everyone just assumes immediately that everybody's seen it, even though it's like, how could I have seen it yet?
But yeah, like with my shirt, I've got all of the runes.
Oh, I was gonna compliment your shirt, but I was trying to find like a way to do it without derailing what we were talking about, even though I just anyway.
Actually, when I went to martial arts training yesterday because it was my first lesson, I wore my Terry McDowell shirt, my Suikoden shirt, my black one.
This is why we put you on the camera, because you have all the freaking shirts.
Yeah, I just buy a lot of this stuff. Like I even bought a fridge mag. Which Zach, me or him?
Yeah, we're both Zach.
And especially that my name's Zachary.
Which Zach are you talking about, Mike?
I'm guessing he meant you though, because I don't have an accent.
Yeah. It's Zachary. Yeah, sorry about that. My accent is like, oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
I'm from Sydney. Actually, one topic.
Where are you from, Assassin?
Yeah. Nice. One topic I'd like to bring up, I hope I get this right on the keyboard. This is actually a topic I want to bring up. Let's say, if you know which character I'm talking about.
Oh.
Theme from Suikoden 1?
which one did you say?
No, Elf Village. Right?
Oh, Elf Village, yeah.
You know which one I'm playing? I'll play it again.
My brain did that thing where it was like, I know this song, but I can't remember where it's from for a second there.
Yeah, I keep getting it wrong. Anyway, yeah, but I'm playing it all.
No, that's not Elf Village. That's Magician's Island.
Yep.
It's easy on my memory, though.
So
Yeah, no, that's Magician's Island, where you meet Leknot.
yes.
Leknot.
So what's my next topic that I'm bringing up then?
The other big lady in the series.
Yep, exactly. Now,
Not big, not like, oh man, I can't. Ignore me.
It's like she plays a major character in the series. Right?
well, she's probably the biggest
not
character.
that kind of big.
In my opinion, she's the biggest character in the series because, one, she's probably one of the most powerful and almost like a godlike figure herself next to the runes.
Omnipresent.
Yeah.
Omnipresent.
Yeah. And, like, without her, the heroes don't really understand their quest at all.
True. She definitely seems to put things in perspective for them, especially, I would say, with Ryu.
Yeah. Well, mind you, for McDowell, she did as well. Like, McDowell, she was always in his face. Whereas in 4, she just gave Laszlo an occasional meeting here and there. It's like, hi, Laszlo, I exist.
Okay, I have a couple things to bring up with her.
Yeah.
I almost have to number them off because, okay, the first thing is almost for humor, but she appears in all of the male protagonists' bedrooms.
Yeah.
All right.
Nina, the other admin of our Suikoden Tavern, brought this up during Suikoden Tri-Day, but she basically, in every game, just shows up in their bedrooms, like, at some point. Literally teleporting into their bedroom, at the foot of their bed, and just starts saying a bunch of random stuff to them. And if it was me, I'd be like, dude, I was sleeping. I am not braining right now. You want to come and talk to me? Come have a conversation with me. Show up during one of our big meetings. Don't bother me while I'm in bed sleeping. Like, that would be my reaction.
Yeah. I have two reactions. One's a realistic one. One's one of me being an idiot. So, yeah. Which one do you want to hear?
I think I know where you're going with that, because it's the same thing everybody else thinks, which is, that's extremely creepy.
No, my second reaction is because I've always thought Leknot is a pretty beautiful woman, actually. So, like, my idiotic reaction.
Oh, so you're thinking they'd be like, oh, there's a girl in my room.
Yeah, and I'm in my pajamas. I am.
And I'm in my, oh my god, I want to see a sprite of all of them in their pajamas now.
Man, I should do that. I actually know a bit. Like, I've done sprite editing before, so.
I would pay you to do that. Like, oh my god, that would be.
Okay, where's the money? I need the money, man.
I'll wire it to you secretly. No, I actually think Ryu would be really cute in pajamas.
I know what you mean, Mike. Now, Mike, I probably
you see them dressed the same way throughout the games, but I've seen artwork of them in, like, I saw artwork of Ryu in this really cool armor once, actually, from the card games. I like that the 5th game, I'm kind of, like, going off topic here, but I just wanted to quickly say, I like that the 5th game, you get to see the hero in a few different outfits. I wish they did that with the other games.
Well, in 2, they keep showing an outfit for him that is a bit Like, what is that soldier? Oh, of course, the soldier. Wait a minute. But see, that's the weird thing. The soldier outfit you think is Highland armor, but I think it looks green or something. And there's a picture of him wearing it. Like, well, I'll just call him Genkaku because I always struggle to say his first name. His second name is Genkaku, but.
Oh, but before we get too off topic from Leknot, because I do still think she's worth talking about.
Oh yeah, we are. I'm just saying, based on your comments.
Yeah.
That's
why I was like, oh man, I just derailed it again. I keep doing
No, we'll get back to it right now. I'm just saying, do you remember?
I'm such a scatterbrain.
Don't worry, we're all deviating. It's all the fun of it. But I'm just saying, with Genkaku, just quickly, he does have a second outfit, but it's confusing anyway. We'll go back to Lake Knight. Like, we can talk about that.
Who has a second outfit?
It's like a night outfit. It actually does look like, that's what I'm saying. I've seen it before because of Sprite's resource. I think that's where I saw it.
While you look for that, I wanted to quickly say to Mike in the comments there, I definitely want to talk about Saria.
Isn't that Sierra?
But, like, we could honestly do a whole podcast on all the things I know about her.
Nice.
Because she's my favorite character, I think, in the whole series. Her and Joey. So, like, I could talk about the Vampire Covenant and just the Coven Mistress, and the vampires and all that. Like, we could do a whole podcast on that. That's how much we can talk about.
Nice. I mean, nice to both of what both of you are saying. But anyway, okay, so with Leknut, what else did we want to say, though? We were saying how she's omnipresent. That's what you were saying.
There's theories that she's a villain.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
What are your thoughts on that?
Me or Mike?
Both. Either, any of you.
Or even Donnie.
Donnie's here too.
I'm just sitting here silently listening to you guys
silently
talk.
waiting.
I like that comment. She is beyond morality.
She is really, because, like, I mean, she just tells you get the job done to restore the balance. Or she doesn't even say restore the balance. She just pretty much tells you what to do, and you just gotta kind of expect, well, okay, magic lady.
I personally see her as an observer. I believe that she sees herself as somebody who interferes when she absolutely has to, but otherwise just sees everybody as mortals and wants to let them do their own thing. What interests me about her is Luke, because she doesn't even try to stop him. And she had to have known what he was up to. She at least had to have known that, like, oh, my pupil who has a true rune and who is incredibly powerful just suddenly went missing. Like, you would think she would have at least warned somebody or tried, but she didn't. She just kind of didn't do anything during the third game. And that's the part that interests me with her, because with, like, she decides to step in with Luca Blight, she decides to step in with Wendy, who is her sister, but with Luke, she didn't do anything. So it makes me wonder if either A, she didn't think she could stop him, or B, she didn't care to try.
Well, I guess with the first game, I agree with Mike on that one. I guess to a degree, but she only technically has half a true rune. But mind you, it's probably one of the most powerful true runes.
I believe she's mortal. She's immortal in the sense of having a true rune, but I think she was a human before she received it.
I remember talking to someone about this, and they said, well, when you've got a true rune, because I brought this up ages ago, I think on Suikoden Friday, I think. But I played Suikoden 4 again, where I got Ted. And what I noticed, when she was talking to everybody, she was talking as if they were all beneath her. Like, she's not in a mean way, but like, I am the
I know what
equivalent
you're
of a
saying.
higher being, and you are all. So I just feel like maybe Mike has a point about. Well, what's my thing?
So that's actually an interesting point too. Then Mike says if you have an internal conflict about interfering, she doesn't. Then that must mean that she doesn't have an internal conflict when it comes to Wendy.
Yeah, because that's well, really, when you think about it, she really hated Wendy or was sad for her. She didn't really interfere as much as we think. She only interfered because she only interfered in the sense that she knew how powerful Wendy and Yuba are together, and she just knew that they'd need her power because it was a bit beyond their realm of power. But if she really wanted to interfere,
Luke worked with Yuba too.
Hmm?
But Luke worked with Yuba too.
But my point is, what I'm saying though isn't about that. What I'm saying is that Leknot, Wendy, whether she's her sister or one of her, or her fellow rune maiden, like where they were the guardians of the runes of the gate rune. Well, they're more than maidens. They actually carry the runes. They're true rune wielders. They obviously were very close before all of that. And all of a sudden it's like, well, even though I knew her for a long, long time and like we're from the same village and everything, I'm only going to help you in a non-confronting way to her, more just to make sure she can't wipe you guys out. But then when it comes to time to actually face her, I'm not present at all. Have you noticed she actually never looks at Wendy once? Throughout the whole thing, they never have a conversation. They never talk ever. For people with a past.
That's true.
That's actually kind of amazing because I never actually thought about that until right now.
Same.
You're right, Mike. They did have destiny.
We don't ever see the two of them interact.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had destinies, but like Mike's saying, but you'd think, come on, you're like...
Well, I remember in the second game she does... Leknot says basically opposite of what the DS game Tier Crease says, which is basically that there is no such thing as one true path. There's always a choice. And I think she does believe that. Yeah, true.
You're right. Humans can encounter many problems having that kind of power. Could Leknot actually... Yeah, you said she's mortal.
I think she's more... I think she could be killed.
I think she can be too. Because, let's be honest, and you're right, the free will element. But that comes down to how power can influence people. If you give people a certain amount of power and mess with that free will, the conflict between human free will and a rune's will, because don't forget, true runes have their own will. And you're right, if Wendy can die, Leknat can.
Exactly.
But, however, nobody said that Wendy's dead.
They fell from the top of the Gregminster, but
yeah, but they said they couldn't find the body.
There is theories on that too. That if they found no bodies, then it's possible that Wendy is still alive.
Remember, Wendy had the front gate rune.
Yeah, she could have created a pocket dimension.
We actually see Wendy teleport in the game.
So it's very possible to be a pocket dimension.
Dimension, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of got that fancy word from The Flash.
I think that if
Wendy
and Barbarossa are alive, it's possible that they're just living in seclusion somewhere.
Barbarossa helped her and he nullifies her magic.
You're right.
that is possible.
Unless she
But
just,
then
because he's
Was
kind
it
of
the
an old
sovereign
man.
rune wasn't it the sovereign rune that nullifies magic, right?
Yeah.
yes.
But the Sovereign Rune
Yes,
was
so
defeated,
that's
though.
true.
However, the Sovereign
Me too.
Rune did get defeated, though, so it's very possible that its effects could have worn off. I mean, like, the Sovereign Rune can only do so much, like, because runes do exert power. It's very possible, like any other rune, the Sovereign Rune getting the shit kicked out of it, it's just like, okay, power down time.
Well, here's something. Being that we brought up Marvel earlier anyway, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, yes,
and I think that Leknot does not use her power responsibly because she has the power to do many things and doesn't. But at the same time, it could also be that she's afraid of her power.
That's possible.
Perhaps she doesn't want to interfere because she's like, what I'm capable of is more than what I want to actually be capable of. Because she sees what her sister is doing with this power and doesn't want to become her sister. So there's also that argument that I actually just thought of this now too. Like, maybe she just doesn't want to use her power.
How awesome would that be then if there was a final Suikoden game, she's the star of destiny, but she's like brought down from a higher place and it's like, this is our final stand. And she's got to kind of embrace that other side of it. And like we find out Wendy's alive.
That would be a very good way of actually ending. If like I wouldn't want to see the series end, but if I were to say like how would we end the series, personally I would do it with a fight against Harmonia, and I would have Leknot lead that fight. And
that would be great as well because that's where it began for her. Like even though it's not where it began, but one of her greatest journeys was in Harmonia, and that's what set everything in motion. She was part of that, I think. Her and Hikusak actually, I think, did work together in a war. I think that actually was a thing. So, because I was reading up on, I don't know how detailed or accurate what it was, but then again, it was probably from a reliable kind of thing. I don't know if it was Suikoden source or somewhere, but because they always detail all of that. So it'd be pretty cool if that is true. Like, it'd be awesome. Like, you see Leknot and the other Stars of Destiny maybe take the fight to Hikusak, or maybe Hikusak is... I mean, that's another topic. Like, I think that's another topic, though. I mean, really, when you think about it.
Oh, yeah, again, like, full podcast-worthy topic is Harmonia.
Yeah, I mean, and not just that, Hikusak himself is just so much. Like, just, we wouldn't be able to cover Hikusak. By the way, Donnie, didn't you say you have to leave for work at 8?
I can take a sick leave.
Sure, man, like,
today I'm talking about Suikoden.
Yeah, sorry, I just noticed you was on. I just noticed the time. I just wanted to be sure.
There was something else I wanted to say about Leknot. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, Haroon. I want to talk about Haroon quickly.
Yeah.
You were actually mentioning teleportation earlier, which made me think about our conversation about Vicky, because we were talking about how Haroon allows teleportation through time.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if the Blinking Rune is a child of the Gate Rune.
You know what? But there's a problem in that, because Yuba also has a teleportation rune as well. And here's
with Uber, I think he jumps into a pocket dimension and then pops out in other spots. So I don't think he's actually teleporting. I think he's traveling through a parallel dimension. But that's my theory of Uber.
But
and it would make sense.
I think that's the same though as Letna, really. I just believe it's a pocket dimension.
Ah. Well, yeah, because her rune summons monsters. We know that the blue
And
gate
so does
rune
Yuba.
is the wait, but then that opens up a whole new question, which is because Uber has a true rune that was confirmed.
Established, yeah.
Which is called the Eightfold Rune.
Yeah.
But we don't know really a lot about it. But it seems to allow him to open a pocket dimension. We know the Dragon Rune also does this. So runes seem to have connections to other dimensions.
Well, let's be honest. I think if we're being serious, every true rune, and why I say this is because every true rune has shown it. In the first game, the Soul Eater's shown that it has its own dimension because all the souls clearly go somewhere because they chose to come out to play at some point. It's like, okay, Wendy, we're going to disable your magic and all that. So they all came out of the rune itself. It's like McDowell didn't have to do anything. They're just like, all right, here we are. I'm like, appear. In 2, there's another instance of 2's a bit harder because you don't really see it as much in 2. Like, I don't really see the bright shield rune or the black. Yes, though. Could it be, though, that its powers... Actually, you're right, of course. The black sword rune summons 1,000,000 blades. That, yes.
Which, by the way, is the coolest attack in the entire series. Just
throw
it out there.
And look at there are other runes as well that do this. The sword, the Star Dragon sword, the Night rune. Like, look at what that does. That sent them back through time. So obviously that is a form of teleportation. Right. So that's also a thing. The Blue Moon rune, it doesn't necessarily. The Blue Moon rune, it's kind of like, in the Flash.
But it seals.
It does seal, you're right. And another thing it does, in the Flash, they try to apply science. And, in Doctor Strange, I'm not going to spoil it if you guys haven't said, but there is, the whole science behind magic as well. I don't know why I'm bringing that up, but I'm thinking it might relate to the point I'm about to say, so I'm just bringing it up just in case it does relate.
I've seen all the movies except for Infinity War.
I haven't seen
that one's pretty recent.
I haven't seen Thor, Dark World, and Ragnarok. I think
Doctor Strange is on Netflix and it's been out for a while.
But what I was gonna say, my point is with the Blue Moon rune, it might not be as much it does have the power to seal, but what it also has to do is bend the laws of life itself and give people eternal life. I know it's because it's a vampire rune, of course, but at the end of the day, it's still breaking the code of how long a person should be able to live for, giving them eternal life.
Here's a question. Do runes break the code or do they make the code?
They make the code because runes are essentially gods. They're what made the world what it is. So it can bend, but they can also bend the laws, that means.
So it's almost like the runes create laws only to break them. And that's... essentially the runes create the laws of the world. The elemental runes even create elements themselves. So that's so you have these things that have the power to break, as you say, the laws of the world, and then you give them to humans. Because all the true rune bearers, outside of Uber, I don't know what the heck he is, but outside of him, all of them are human. At least to
You're right. With. You're right. You're right, Mike. They're like Greek gods, and
fallible, yeah.
But just what you're saying, Zach. Interestingly, you give them to humans. But also the same. It's like I was reading what Mike was saying there.
That's okay.
So what were you saying on that point after you were saying that you give them to humans?
Oh, just that exactly what Mike was saying. Humans are fallible. Humans are capable of making all sorts of mistakes, and then you're basically giving them the power of gods.
Yeah. But what's interesting as well, there are other true runes that also display godlike, but like, when I say godlike powers, I mean like, but
I see the runes as the true runes as gods.
They are.
Suikoden world.
Sorry, just get a bit of reflex. But you're right, by being divided. In a way, though, it's also, I guess, like any. I'm thinking the Japanese stories as well include that. But I guess, like, I mean, in polytheistic beliefs, so that is a lot of polytheistic beliefs, so like that you get the many different elements going around, or like something like that that created certain things, or were given charge of certain things. And you're right, the rune of beginning just seems to have the sole purpose that it determines who wins or loses a war.
The rune of beginning, in its two forms,
it created, that's right.
Causes conflict. It causes two people to have to fight.
And actually, it's the most important of the true runes. Do you know why?
Absolutely.
Alright. Do you want me to explain? Even though, like, what do you want to explain? I'll take that silence as it's my go.
It's a cycle of life, basically.
But not just the cycle of life. It's the most important rune because I think it was the basis of all the runes to begin with. Its very nature is what caused the runes, I think, probably to split in the first place.
I think the rune of beginning represents birth. And therefore, without birth, you have no life.
But funnily enough, it also, in a way, is kind of like the soul eater in that it represents death in the way it's counter nature, even though its name is the rune of beginning. It's also kind of the rune of death because you're kind of screwed if you have to compete with the rune of beginning because it's like someone's usually got to die. For that
book. Exactly what ended up happening.
But that's why I think, because I always assumed the rune of beginning was the true form of all the runes when they were combined together. Because remember they said sword and shield clash, and it was only when sword and shield had that, when they clashed, that's when they were split.
So it brings us to the very core philosophical problem that humans have had, which is trying to figure out life. And I think in that universe, if you see them as gods, then you can assume that they each have a very important role.
Oh, yeah.
They each bring something to the table. But I think the rune of beginning represents beginning, whereas Soul Eater represents end, because you can't have beginning without end.
Exactly.
One needs the other.
And that's why when they combined, when the two protagonists of the first two games combined their powers, it was devastating power. And the runes are probably capable of so much more than that. But in the hands of two guys who haven't lived that long of a life, it was still capable of unleashing incredible power.
It's extremely fortunate that the people who ended up with those two particular runes were good people.
Yeah.
But imagine if someone like Wendy had
got her hands
on the Soul Eater. Or Luca Blight with the rune of beginning, for example.
But what is the beast rune?
We'll even see what he did with the beast rune. He committed genocide.
And also, the beast rune also has a space-time kind of power, that whole thing, because that can also seal and release. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that is actually exactly the kind of direction the series would take if it were to continue, and if it were to have an ending.
That's if Konami were to make the series with a bit of with the way they should approach it. But knowing Konami, they'd probably make it like how Capcom made Breath of Fire 6, and then it's gonna be like, oh.
At this point, I'd rather see no continuation than see Konami butcher the series.
I'd rather just see
that's my honest opinion on that. I mentioned this in the last podcast too, but I more just like to think about these what if scenarios, and I 100% agree with Mike. I think that would be the best way to bring these series to the end if that were to be whatever were to happen.
But you know what's interesting? There are many game designers in the Suikoden community. I mean, there are many people who do work in programming, art, and all that other stuff. Seriously, I think if they were to get together, if you could unite them under one goal, even if it were a slow project, it could happen. You could get a fan game like that.
That's my hope.
Because I've seen enough game designers in the Suikoden community that I think to myself,
Exit Fate is actually an interesting topic. I've played it myself. I've played it all the way through. It is a good game. It's solid. Really freaking hard at some points, but I think other than having a bit of an unbalanced battle system, I think it's really good. But it's a good example of what could happen, or what could be done.
Possible.
And yeah, really terrible names.
I didn't
although the game's name actually makes a lot more sense once you've played through it. Actually, the name of Suikoden is something I've mentioned before to some of my friends. I think it's part of the reason the series isn't as successful as it could be.
But you can't change the name.
Look at other role-playing games, though, like Final Fantasy, Breath of Fire. What makes those games so popular? And I think a big part of it is simply in the names.
But there's one simple problem that you haven't brought up. Don't forget, look at a lot of, not just Konami, but you do know, well, look, I don't have to inform you because you probably would know.
Dragon Quest.
No, but what I'm saying, look at, what is Suikoden? What does it mean?
I believe it means water margin.
A bit of it does.
That name too.
A bit of it does. I think the word Suiko is supposed to mean that, but I remember some person on a forum, I think their name is, well, I won't bring up their name if they don't want to be mentioned, but they're on Suikoden Tavern, and they're an active user. I remember their name now. They understand a bit of Japanese or a lot. I remember I talked to them about this, and I think it's because you have to say the full name, Genso Suikoden, and I think it translates because I think Gen is like illusion. And I think Den is used for chronicles. So I think it's chronicles of something to do with water margin, chronicles, and illusion.
But that's a bad name too.
No, but it's not about being a band. No, but it's not a bad.
I'm not trying to make fun of Suikoden, obviously. But if you just think about the name,
not a translation-friendly
the name of the game. Yeah, it's not a translation-friendly name, but even its original name, Suikoden, throws people off. I remember in high school, I was trying to tell one of my friends about the game, and I actually was hesitant to even use the name of the game because I was worried it would turn them off from it. And to me, if they just rebranded the name, I think they could sell it easily. Because everything else the game has to offer is what people are looking for in games right now. They want something unique.
By the way, Mike, yeah, I know what you mean. I love to have that kind of just trying to think what to say. Yeah, I've always wanted to have a conversation like this with people too. Keep getting stuck with my words. But see, all I'm saying is the name is pretty much because Konami aren't the only company that made Suikoden before. Suikoden is actually Koei made a game called Suikoden, which we know as Bandit Kings of Ancient China. The reason why they named it that is because I think they are trying. Oh yeah, and Mike, you're more than welcome to join. But I think the reason why they named it that was because they did want to. That's interesting. So Persona 5 did very well.
I would argue more. There's a much smaller market for turn-based RPGs. I'm noticing a huge rise in action RPGs. More along the lines of like Skyrim type games, The Witcher, those types of games. But I think you could easily make Suikoden into a game like that. I don't think it would be. You could still have the 108 Stars of Destiny. Just a lot of them would have to be NPC roles.
I still don't know though. I think turn-based is still turn-based is still something you can do though. I think if you try to go
relevant, it's just not as in, I guess.
But I think if we think too much on that perspective, then we're trying to make the game more popular, more than true to what it is.
Absolutely, that's the issue, though.
I think I'd rather the series be true to what it is than try to sell to people let's make this game. If you have to make something more popular, then it feels like you're taking away what makes it special. It's like some people
I should have clarified. I am not saying we need to make Suikoden more popular. I'm just talking about why I don't think it is as popular as it could be.
Yeah, I understand that. I've got no problem with that at all. All I'm saying is I don't really like the idea of seeing it go past turn-based. I don't mind a spin on turn-based, maybe make it more active time-based or a little bit more like Divinity where you can move the characters a little bit and then like a freeze kind of thing where you get a certain amount of moves, like movement space, or kind of like tactics. Maybe a more advanced version
I like tactics. I think a tactical style RPG would work fine with Suikoden if they just did it a little better.
What if they... Yeah, no, you can... but what I'm thinking is this. Have any of you played Divinity?
Played what?
Have any of you played Divinity Original Sin?
I've heard of that. I don't think I've played that one.
And Pillars of Eternity. I've played a lot of Divinity Original Sin. My brother's finished Pillars of Eternity.
Are you referring to like tactical style games?
Yes.
I've played a lot of those, just not those two particular ones.
But
I play a lot of Fire Emblem. Shining Force is really good.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Like you said, it's what's CRPG again? Trying to remember that. I'm really bad.
Valkyria Chronicles is another one. Disgaea.
Yeah.
I think Suikoden could benefit from that kind of gameplay.
Why I would like to see it like
the story.
Why I'd like to see Suikoden take the Divinity approach is Divinity, you've got a regular map. You can walk around and do everything. It's like Baldur's Gate.
I see what you're talking about.
It's like
Arc the Lad.
Arc the Lad. It's sort of like that. Except more free moving.
You kind of have a more
Arc the Lad 2, not
style
Arc the Lad.
Instead of jumping between a bunch of areas.
Yeah, so not like Suikoden Tactics, but once you go into battle, your characters just split, and all of a sudden you're in battle mode, and you get a certain amount of AP where you can use moves.
Oh, Baldur's Gate. Okay,
yeah, except unlike Baldur's Gate, Divinity Original Sin is a game where you can, like, where your party members, like, battle stop and it becomes turn-based.
Yeah,
whereas Baldur's Gate, you can stop the game and choose your targets, but I'm thinking Divinity's got a cool system because it's more forceful about it, rather than you can just walk right through enemies. And, like, I feel like for Japanese developers, it might be a lot easier, but Japanese developers, I don't think usually go for the Baldur's Gate style. I could be wrong,
I
but I've
actually
never
don't
seen
necessarily agree with the opinion that the developers have to be Japanese. But I do think that it's important to take inspiration from Japanese.
No, what I'm saying is that it's Konami's game, though.
I know, that's the unfortunate part here.
Yeah. Oh, you mean if they got rid of the series? Yeah, I don't think it'd have to go to a Japanese company
If
at all.
Konami somehow, let's say they sold the rights to the series to someone else, or let's say that in some miracle world that's living in our brains that fans were able to make a Suikoden game, I think that a tactical style would be the way to go.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because it's relevant, it still can hold true to the turn-based nature of the game while still being fun.
And of course, I'll hold the attention span of people who, in this day and age, and I'm not saying that we as kids weren't like this either, but people just now seem to need, like, constant
action.
Like, not just action, but just, like, things tickling their sensors. Like, they just need always things happening in their games, and if there's not constant things happening, they just drop it and move to the next thing. And it's so easy to get games now because everything is digital.
But I think that Suikoden, what's great about it, I've played a lot of story games. See you, Donnie.
See you later, Donnie.
Here's the thing. I've played a lot of story games where I can't get into it because it's just too much story in my face, and I just like a point to it. And that's what I love about Suikoden. For all its complex story and big elements, it doesn't waste time, though. You're in the story, that's it. Perfect pacing.
Perfect pacing.
Like, I've heard people... I know I'm like... Oh, wait, what were you going to say?
Perfect pacing. I would actually argue that the fourth and fifth games are a little slower than they could have been. But outside of that, I think that the games have very good pacing. They have just the right amount of story, just the right amount of combat. The dungeons don't feel like you're going to be spending hours and hours inside a cave. They're just the right length. The only thing I would probably change with Suikoden, though, is to have more memorable dungeons. Because there are other games I can think of that are RPGs where I just remember these incredible dungeons, and Suikoden, some of them are really good, but some of them are very forgettable too. There's way too many forests, first of all. Every game has, like, a huge lengthy forest, and I'm, like, sick of forests. That's why I liked 4 so much, because it brought something new to the table, but still kept the same formula.
The forest. It still had the forest. But, do you know what, though? Memorable dungeons. What about, one had some
Sindar
memorable...
Ruins, for example. That was a good dungeon.
Which one?
The Sindar Ruins.
Oh, yeah. But my favorites were Necklord's Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Both castles were awesome. I actually enjoyed Cave of Wind. I know it's a cave, but the music...
No, I know what you mean. I was actually thinking of the Cave of the Wind when I was talking.
Like, and I think when you have to get to the night rune, even in the first game, this is funny, the first and the second game, their dungeons just were so mysterious and there was something about it. And actually, the first game, I don't know if anyone agrees with me here, but on the way to the Dragon's Den, I just felt like, oh my goodness, we're going to a place that's going to lead to the dragons. So there was something very mystical. Like, I just couldn't wait to get to it. That was the most challenging dungeon.
Oh, the Dwarf Vault.
The Dwarf Vault as well was good.
That place was awesome.
One probably had the best dungeon.
Were unique.
In my opinion, one had the best dungeon.
It was a hard puzzle, but I loved the sound puzzle that they used.
Oh,
I still know that chime off by heart.
I forget now.
Beep, boop, boop, beep, 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 boop. See?
They all have great dungeons, but I just felt like one had the quantity of the quality.
The big hole.
Like, not necessarily the best, but I just felt like it had a quantity of quality, whereas the rest had some quality.
I would say the third game's dungeons were the weakest out of all of them.
I don't really remember as much about the third game's dungeons. I only remember the last dungeon.
I don't really remember. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It had a mine, it had a tunnel, and it had a mountain, and 6 forests. Like,
wow.
That was the third game. Oh, and a cave or
but the final dungeon was pretty awesome.
The final dungeon was okay, but it was the final dungeon. Like, at that point, you're like, oh, we're just getting a good dungeon now?
You're right, actually. You know what? That is true. I'll definitely, I'd agree with that, but I still think
the Flame Champion's Hideaway could have been so much better because of how big of a dungeon that should have been, but it was a very short cave, hallway, and then you fought a dragon.
You know what? I've got Kingdom Come Deliverance, but I've just got to get more and more into it. Like,
I'll have to give that one a try.
It's actually really good. I've got to play more of it. I would love to play more. And the sword play, like actually using weapons, is more fun than Skyrim because it finally has what I've been waiting for in a game: interactive movement. Like your sword.
What do you mean by that?
You know, in Skyrim, your sword's automatic. In this, it's proper sword play. Like you swing your sword. Even with a controller, use the analog stick, and you can use like proper techniques.
That's cool.
Yeah.
With the analog stick, that must be that.
I know, Mike. I'm just saying that's something I've always wanted to see in a game. About damn time. Anyway, back on topic, like Mike said. I know, Zach, you were saying something. Sorry, I was interrupting you there.
Oh, sorry. I was just sending a message to Nina. I was just saying that it would be really hard to like program very precise sword movement in a game. So that sounds really impressive. But yeah, no, back to Suikoden. I was talking about the dungeons and just how, actually, when I think about it more, the first 2 games definitely had way more impressive dungeons. The third games were weak. The fourth game had a couple good ones. The fourth game, though, was more about
the opening.
Was more about traveling by the ocean and all that anyway, so it didn't really need dungeons.
Oh, but I love the dungeon in
5 had good dungeons. I think I was just more put off by the art style in 5.
What I was gonna say, and actually me too.
Personally.
Me too. But what I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? I already forgot even before you'd say. Lino and Cool. That's what's it called? It's in the island nations. What are they called again? I've really just.
I think 4 has potential. I like 4 myself, but I think it has potential to be better. I think there was a few things they could have done differently.
Agreed.
I actually didn't mind traveling around by the water, but I'm very, very biased because I really like pirate-themed things, and I also like Wind Waker.
But what I'm curious about, what's the kingdom? What's the name of the kingdom again?
Which kingdom?
That's my reflex. 4.
Island Nations?
Oh, so it is just called Island Nations. No, but what? Obel.
Is it Obel or Obel?
I think
Obel.
it's Obel or Obel. It doesn't matter. But that's the city you start off in, like the one where the dungeon is.
I know what you're talking about. The ruins in there, right? Where you get the Rune of Punishment.
No, not where you get punishment. The Rune of Punishment. It's where.
Oh, not where you get it. Sorry. Where you find
you find a giant earth golem creature.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
That was a good dungeon. I liked it.
Just can't think of the name right now.
I like that dungeon.
Wait, weren't they just called the Obo Ruins?
They were. You're right.
I don't think they had a special name. That's why we're not thinking. That's why you can't think of the name, because it didn't have one. They were just called the Ruins.
There's only one thing I can play for that. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
I don't. That's a great. I don't know how you would do the cam yourself, Mike. Like, I don't even know how to do it for me. That's why I don't have one. But we'll figure that stuff out.
Google Hangouts is a lot easier for that. Like, no problem.
I just don't know how to get Google Hangouts onto YouTube's.
Well, if I knew how to record Google Hangouts, or if we got someone who's willing to do recording work, then yeah, I'm all up for it. And then they post because I'm gonna put this video on our main channel. Yeah, Google Hangouts is good. I actually prefer Google Hangouts because you get more features and you get to do. Everyone gets.
All right. Why don't we try Google Hangouts next time?
Yeah. Well, our next session is Saturday, but I'm thinking about the time for Saturday because how I see it.
I think we should try to keep the time pretty consistent.
But the only problem is this time's good for a few of us, but there are people from.
This time works very well for me because I have several roommates, and so like doing things really early in the morning I can't do, and doing things really late at night I can't do. So this time is kind of like a happy medium for everybody.
Yeah, the only problem is I know that there are people.
Those of you who don't know, I live in Canada. I live in Toronto, more specifically, and Zachary lives in Australia. So we're 14 hours apart. So it's really hard for us to get on at the same time.
My only problem is that there are people who might struggle from Asian regions, and I know there are people from Asian regions who would love to join.
Yeah.
What we may have to do, there might have to be sometimes where some of us can't do the stream, like just in case, if it's too impossible for some people.
Yeah.
By the way, here's a song that I've been practicing. This is one that I can play properly at the moment. I couldn't play the Magician's Song because I know the songs because I've played them before, but
I liked your version of that because I've never heard it played that way, and I actually think it sounds better than the in-game version.
Well, I usually play it like this.
It sounded like.
Yep.
The reason I thought it was the Elf Village theme is because it had that kind of melancholy to it when you played it, and I liked it more than the version in-game where it sounds very goofy.
Oh, I see what
It might have just been because it's piano, though. I love piano.
Oh, piano, I love. He's right, actually. Yeah, I think he's right. Mike's right. We need to flood it because if people are going to join, they need to know when it's
See,
on.
that was kind of my bad. I was going to do that, but I thought we were doing this tomorrow because he said Wednesday, but he meant Wednesday his time, and I thought he meant Wednesday my time because, again, 14-hour time difference.
I put in a EST on the notification, but I may have talked to you. Oh, but you saw my post to you, though, like my message.
But yeah, next time we do this, I'm going to, like, flood Facebook with posts and just get the word out so that we can get lots of people involved.
I'll show you another song. This is from another game, actually. Before I play the other one, I want to see if you know this one. Do you remember?
Oh, and Twitter. We should get a Twitter account for this.
Yeah. Do you remember where that's
Sorry, that just
from?
came to my head. Yeah, I know that song.
Where's it from then?
I don't know, but I know it.
I thought you were going to tell me. It's Wild Arms.
Oh, that's why. I haven't played Wild Arms in a while.
I'll show you another book. Oh, good. Hey, when I just pushed right into my keyboard. Here's a Suikoden song I've been practicing. Do you remember that?
I remember it. Oh, yeah, I remember it.
And yeah, I'm just reading the comments. Oh yeah, Wild Arms is fantastic music. It's my favorite music in the game. What were you saying?
In terms of my favorite music, I would have to say Dark Cloud 2. And that's hard. Dark Cloud has both Dark Cloud and Dark Chronicle have amazing soundtracks.
What I loved about that particular theme, that like what I was playing now, that's Emperor's Palace. I just love it because it's got this majestic sound. Oh, Final Fantasy
VII has a good soundtrack, yeah.
Final Fantasy 7.
was awesome.
Yeah, I got a bit, One Winged Angel, I wish I could play that. I actually have tried to play it, but I've never committed. I was actually going to get a bit more intense with my left hand, but then I forgot the rhythm to it, so I'm like...
That was the most intense I've heard you play. That was awesome, though.
Yeah, like I love video game music. Actually, it's kind of what got me more passionate about music. Some people would say, oh, video games. So I was talking to my acupuncturist, and my acupuncturist is trying to get me to play less games. So I'm like, no offense, doc, but it's actually that if it weren't for games, I probably wouldn't be into music as much.
Do you remember the song I sent you from Dark Cloud 2?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't want it.
I'm gonna ask you to check that one out again, because I would love to hear you play that.
Can I be able to play next stream? Because sometimes when I'm learning on like the spot without my...
Oh, no, I don't want you to try to pull it off now. You only heard it once.
Do you guys know this song? Let's see. This is one of my favorites. Oh, what is it again?
Of course.
That one, for anyone that, does everyone remember that one? Just, that one's, actually, that's one of my favorites, and the guy who did it, the music, he was on Japanese TV a few months ago. He recently is in a band with, he formed a band with a famous Japanese violinist, and a guy who plays the sho. There's a Japanese instrument, but he's an accordionist. His name is Koba. I tried to get him to play Suikoden. I think I actually asked for a request on the Japanese show because they say, oh, do you want people to come back in? I think I asked for him to come back on and maybe play La Mer. I mean, any guy that plays La Mer, honestly, he actually composed the music for Suikoden 4.
Did you say La Mer from Suikoden 4?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if that was...
I thought you said.
Yeah. I think that was La Mer.
Actually, that's a really good song. I haven't heard it in a while.
Yeah, I think I was playing La Mer. I'm trying to remember because there are two songs. There's La Mer and then there's another one.
I believe that was La Mer, although I've never heard it played that way.
Yeah. Well, there's Razriel. Razriel's like this one.
That's Razriel. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played this one. Yeah. Here's one. Let's see.
That was awesome.
Another famous Suikoden piece. Oh, this is my favorite though. It's from Suikoden 2. I love that particular.
I believe the song in the opening credits is called Reminiscence. It's probably my favorite video game theme.
But that's not Reminiscence, though.
Ever.
That was actually an old story.
No, I was just mentioning because Assassin mentioned that in the chat. I can't speak today. The opening credits to the second game, I think, was Reminiscence. But that song, is it called Transcending Love? I can't remember what that song's called, but it's a great song too.
What I love about an old story is it's really sad. Like I love kind of like
an old story. That's it.
Like an old story from Suikoden 2 is
that plays a different version of that plays when Joey gets taken away from his parents when he gets arrested.
I want to hear that right now, actually.
It's such a sad song because of that scene. I think it's called A Prayer to My Mother or something like that.
Yes, it is. Oh, yeah.
Just because of the way the song
opens. A Prayer to My Mother, I think. A Prayer to My Mother.
Yeah.
Oh, that was sad.
Something to My Mother.
I guess that's why I can sometimes feel a bit sorry for Joey. I mean,
I was saying in the comments, like, that song gets me in the feels every time I hear it. It doesn't matter what mood I'm in.
I just want to hear that. I remember this. I listened to it on the train.
Festering with anger, and I hear that song, and it just brings me to like Zen mode.
Like, I hear that song, and it's funny that you say that. That is the thing where Joey. I guess what really is sad about it. We can complain about Joey as much as we want. Like, I know there are people who get. I mean,
I love Joey.
I know you love Joey, but I mean, I know there are people who can complain about. People love Joey, but people think he's the great antagonist. Like that he was a major.
I see where they're coming. I see where they're coming from, and like if you don't know the whole story with him, because like the game actually leaves a lot of things out that is explained in the Suikoden games.
But that's why I feel sorry a bit for Joey. That
yeah, exactly.
There are times where I just see his character. Oh yeah, like what I feel sorry for about Joey is that he really copped it in a way. Like, unlike Genkaku, Genkaku didn't know what his destiny and who he was. He didn't know that his adoptive parent, that his adoptive, what would you say, father? He was more like a grandfather, but I mean, like, either way. Like, he didn't know that Genkaku was this war hero. He just knew, okay, he's an old man that knows martial arts and adopted me and Nanami, and Nanami and I. So, all of a sudden, he just got thrown into a position and then people are telling him blah, blah, blah. But everybody was helping him the whole way. But Joey, it's just like, yeah, I'm an outcast and my family's honor's at stake. Yeah, you're right. And I just feel that
Blade would have massacred everyone if it wasn't for Joey.
And Joey wasn't actually trying to be a homicidal maniac. He did actually try genuinely to bring peace. It's just that he was up against another guy who they knew that as long as they were on the opposite ends of each other, there wasn't going to be true peace.
I would go as far as saying Joey is a martyr.
I think so too, actually. I'd say that. I just feel like Joey, what he did, there are some people who will debate this and say that he was actually really a selfish you-know-what. But I feel like his character lost so much compared to other characters. Like, that scene where he was calling out to his mother and his family were pretty much saying, yeah, we're like, you're not part of our family. I just like...
Hell yeah. Sorry, I just had...
But I just really
is
felt...
the best romance ever.
I just felt for his character, but I'm just like, man, honestly, if... Like, imagine your family...
I go as far as saying Joey's my favorite video game character.
But I'm just saying, like, for a person to be kicked out of their home, like, and given up to the death penalty, like, their family's like, yep, well, can I at least send my mother? No, you dead. It's like, you bastard. Like, if I were Joey, I would have been the same. I would have been like...
It comes down to his line, Ryu and I haven't betrayed this country. This country has betrayed us.
That's the one. Yeah, like, they did. Like, Highland betrayed them because... Isn't it funny? Yeah.
It betrayed everyone. It betrayed itself. Agrias just allowed his son to run rampant. And Agarius, however you say his name. And then, obviously, what Luca did was unspeakable.
It was evil.
But even after they were gone, Joey realized this country is still corrupt. It needs to be taken completely down to the bare bones. Its king needs to be stripped. It needs to have no type.
And that's why he had to do everything that he did.
The only way to do that was for him to put himself in that position and get his own self ripped down. I think he wanted Ryu to win.
I'm not saying that Joey I'm not saying that Joey would have made a good leader, because I'm sure he had a lot of naive values that would have eventually... Like, I think he would have probably found that it would have been harder to rule than he thought.
Oh, yeah.
However, I agree with his logic that the king was a fool. Like, the king made Luca what he's... Look, I know that the king... Look, I do kind of feel sorry for him because he acknowledges his own weakness. But at the same time, he let his son and wife get... he let his wife get raped. He let his son witness the whole thing. He didn't even think, well, let me get my son out of there too. I know that I think he was saved by his guards, but he couldn't have just said, get my son. Imagine, he could have at least said, you do realize he's the future king.
No, I agree with your statement that he's a fool.
I just feel like really Agorist could have done more, and Luca probably wouldn't have been the dickhead that he was. I'm sure he would have still been maybe, in a way, maybe not the best kind of person. But let's be honest. His whole character's motive isn't that he wants world domination. He's not another Kefka. He's not the guy. And you're right, Mike. It's always thrust upon children, but not just heroes. Luca Blight is not an adult. Look at all the responsibility on him.
Yeah.
He's a kid too. And Julia, they're all kids.
Joey's a kid. Earlier you said something like, you didn't think that Joey knew exactly what he was getting himself into. Well, of course he didn't. He's 16.
Exactly. And look at Pilika. Pilika had one of the biggest responsibilities. Because Pilika was used as a bargaining chip, as a hostage, so that they could escape.
And it was actually a really clever plan because...
It was clever, but they knew they wouldn't kill her because Joey has that, there's no way Joey's gonna sacrifice Pilika, who he absolutely, it was like his little sister. And she's like his little sister.
It also shows that Joey's a good person, deep down.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't allow some child to just witness that.
And that's what I do like about Joey.
Even Agarius would have just been like, yeah, shoot them.
Because if Agorist could sacrifice his son, which he did, and his wife, then what's to stop him from sacrificing another child who's not his family?
Exactly.
And who's not even in his region of protection.
I'm not going to say much about it now because I want to actually talk about these people on a different podcast. But Joey's decision to bring in Leon Silverberg.
You should talk to Riley Crane about that.
Yeah, that's why I said I wanted to talk about the Silverbergs in a different podcast because, again, that's a whole thing we can talk about. But since we're on the topic of Joey, I wonder how early Joey brought him in because it seems right around the time when Greenhill was taken over was when Leon was involved.
Well, you need a guy like Leon because really, Joey may have been brought up into a family of, what seems to have prestige, but he wasn't a trained strategist or a tactician. So you think about it, he had to have had someone with all these big decisions he was making. It had to come from somewhere because it couldn't be him. A 16-year-old.
I imagine he brought him in really early. I just can't figure... that's the one thing I could never figure out was how the heck Joey even met or got Leon to help him. I wonder if it was Leon Silverberg knew about what's going on.
You're right.
Involved. But it's kind of a weird thing. It's the only thing that I would call a plot hole in Suikoden.
Well, I think it
Not
could
that
be.
it's a big deal, but it was just kind of an interesting thing to me. It's like, how the heck did that guy get involved?
Well, here's the way you can think about it. It's actually not a plot hole, in my opinion. It's actually, and I'll tell you why. I'll actually tell you this, but here's what I'll tell you. Do we not believe that the Rune of Beginning pits two people against each other and tries to bring it, like, we believe that it fights, it makes two sides fight each other.
100% believe that, yeah.
So in other words, it could have brought destiny to him. Like, I believe, because look, didn't destiny kind of fortune favor the brave for Rio? How did he find Shu?
Oh.
What are the odds that Shu, Apple, all these people kind of just
I just saw something that Leknot said, actually, to Ryu. We were talking about her earlier.
Yeah.
She appears to Ryu when he's in Matilda and says, I see Joey as well. So what if Joey is a Tenkai star?
He could have been the potential. Maybe their destinies weren't written at that point, and they could have both.
What if there's 108 stars of destiny on both sides of the war?
Maybe there was.
But he just never collected all of his. And Leon Silverberg is a star of destiny. We see that in the first game.
But, like, you're right. But what I think
so it makes me wonder if maybe this is why somebody like Leon got involved, because he is one of Joey's stars of destiny.
And it could have very well been that there were two sides. One of them could have been the hero, or like what we know as the hero, and the other person could have been the villain, depending on how the war was seen. Like, the rebels in the game, let's not forget, Suikoden isn't about good guys and bad guys. The so-called good guys have done some pretty shit things, like using a child as a bargaining chip. Or in the first game, how Matthew Silverberg, like, almost ordered you pretty much to wipe out, like, soldiers who weren't prepared for war, and it was pretty much an ambush, but in the most brutal way. And you actually did. Like, you lied to your enemy and then just pretty much went in and I know that's war, but it was a pretty sad way for a lot of people to die and all, that they just are like, what the and gone. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying.
One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. Can you argue that technically there is no good side or bad side? Like, Luca Blight may have been evil.
I think at the very least at the beginning of the war there wasn't. I don't think the city-state is any better than Highland.
I think other than Luca Blight, I really don't see how Highland's evil, to be honest, because, like...
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right, Mike. The Flame Champion, he burned down areas. Like, his power was out of control. He burned down areas, and they said his power was out of control.
He killed many people completely by accident, but it was still because of what I was talking about earlier, somebody who's human being given the power of a god.
How do you
control it? The Flame Champion is a perfect example of somebody abusing that power.
Exactly. And then you've got all the other things as well. And, I mean, like, really, if it wasn't for Windy, was the Scarlet Moon Empire really the worst empire? Because they say he only really, Barbarossa's policies only really got a bit more stupid when his wife died and he went through depression. And all of a sudden, Windy, who...
The Scarlet Moon Empire had one that I can think of corrupt person, and that was Craze.
Yeah.
Everybody else, the other generals seemed like genuine good people.
Yeah.
I know that they did all those horrible things in the game, but that was because of Windy. manipulating.
Exactly. And then they regretted their decision and actually said, look, if you want to kill me, I can't blame you. They actually admitted, okay, you know what? I just did shit things. I know it was a rune doing that to me, but I can't forgive myself. They actually are admitting that what they did was wrong. So in other words, they had to have had a conscience. It's not like other games.
That's what I love about Suikoden, though. It brings a real world thing like politics and then mixes magic into it, and then you got Suikoden.
As much as I love Final Fantasy X, I'm only bringing up this point to talk about Suikoden. As much as I love Final Fantasy X, sometimes I look at the character of Seymour, and it's kind of like Sephiroth in 7, and I wonder how you went from point A to B so quickly. Like, it's like, okay, I understand why you're evil, but just, like in Suikoden, characters weren't obsessed with destroying the world or, like, world domination. They just wanted their region. Whereas in Final Fantasy, it's got to be world domination. That you bring up
Sephiroth, because Sephiroth is a fanatic. He's a product of a religious, semi-religious reasoning as to why he does what he does.
And the same as
compare him to Luke. Because Luke does what he does because of one of the world's gods, which is a true rune. Sephiroth does what he does because of the world's god, Genova.
You're right.
I see people compare Sephiroth to a fanatic, and to me, it's what I said before. You're mixing magic into politics, and that's what makes Suikoden work so well, because you're taking a real-world situation, a real-world problem, and mixing magic into it and seeing what happens.
I get what you mean. Oh, so you're saying mix politics and magic and see what happens.
Mix anything with magic and see what happens. Look, like there's an anime I'm watching right now that's about a guy who has psychic powers, and like the anime without the psychic powers would be super boring. But because you have this magical element that gets thrown into it, it just makes everything more interesting. And I think a big part of Suikoden's lore, and I would even argue Final Fantasy 7 and 10, is bringing in magic to otherwise regular situations.
Boy, what were you saying about the previous point? Because I was just reading what you were saying about the lore of about Final Fantasy 7 Sephiroth.
So Sephiroth is basically a fanatic.
No, but you were saying about an anime.
Everything he does. Sorry?
You were talking about an anime, though.
Oh, sorry. I was just mentioning that an anime I'm watching would be extremely boring without the magic elements that they add to it. But because of just one thing that is brought into this world, it changes everything.
And it does break.
That anime, it would be psychic powers, but in terms of Suikoden, it's runes.
I get what you're saying. Like, I just find that when I look at Final Fantasy VII, I think the lore is cool. But,
yeah, me too.
And I'm a fan of Final Fantasy VII, don't get me wrong. I'm not the kind of guy. The only game in Final Fantasy I ever tend to complain about is 6, and it's only because whenever I see the fans give it this super praise and Kefka being the greatest villain of all time, that just pisses me off. It's not that I've got anything with the game. Like it's not like I'm angry at the game itself. But I just find, even with the lore that you guys were just telling me now with 7, to me it just feels so over my head. It's like some intergalactic world destroyer is controlling like Sephiroth, and it just feels like
use the word controlling. Some people say that it's controlling. I wouldn't use that word.
Oh, well, you said
very much like the Black Runes. You could argue that Kwanda Roseman and, I hope I'm not butchering these names, Milik Oppenheimer had the ability to do the things they did. They just wouldn't have done it without the push that the Black Rune gave them.
I think it was just the Black Rune. But all I'm saying about Sephiroth being the pawn of an intergalactic world destroyer, it just feels like I get what you mean.
I don't know any series that goes as in depth as Suikoden does.
Me
in
neither.
1994. I cannot think of one. And Zachary and I were talking about this another time.
Yeah.
Like, of the games that came out during that time, what was similar to Suikoden? I would say, graphically, I would probably mention Arcalad 3 and Chrono Trigger.
And do you realize Arcalad 3 came out many years later after the original Suikoden?
But in terms of the depth, the realism, and the lore of the world itself, Suikoden is, I think, unrivaled at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Even now,
very hard.
How many games go as in depth as Suikoden does?
And I'll actually make a point on that. Look, I know everyone, not everyone, but The Witcher 3 is a beloved game. Like, I understand it's loved.
Honestly, I think it's overrated.
But
and I'm probably going to get a little hate for saying that.
That's what I was actually just going to say. Do you know why I think I've played it? I mean, you've played it, I assume, as well. But why I don't like it as much as others, I just want to quickly make this point. The story's pacing to me, I don't care what everyone's saying. Look, the story looks great, but the pacing is terrible. It didn't get to the point. I played for so many hours, and I still didn't even get to what's really the beginning.
I would say Elder Scrolls goes in depth in terms of the world itself and its politics, but not in the terms of characters. Because, I can't honestly remember one character outside of the demigods in those games that I actually remember well.
What about Tiber Septim?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Tiber Septim is a weird character because some people say that he kind of reached godlike status. So outside of him, though, Sheer Gorath is like the character everyone talks about. He's a demigod.
This is crazy.
And he's bonkers. But like outside of those two, and I honestly can't say Elder Scrolls has ever brought me to tears like Suikoden has. I love the Elder Scrolls games though, which is why I actually mentioned them because like I'm a big fan of Elder Scrolls, but I like Elder Scrolls because I'm a role player, so for me, I can get really lost in them. But for anyone who's looking for a story to be told to them, Suikoden is the go-to series for me. When if somebody says to me, "Hey, recommend an RPG that has good story," the first thing comes to mind is Suikoden, right off the top of my head.
And that's what makes Suikoden. Actually, this is a topic, and by the way, that brings to a topic that we should talk about. What does make Suikoden compared to other series? Like, what is so special about it compared to the everyday role-playing game? Not even just JRPG, your everyday role-playing game. Any generation.
Well, I was actually just saying to Mike in the comments there, and I think you and I mentioned this in the last podcast, we don't always have to talk about Suikoden as much as we all love the series.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many great games out there.
Well, in Elder Scrolls, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. It'll come back to me.
Well, I just wanted to say, like, in terms of talking about depth, though, in recent years I can think of a few, but just in terms of 1994, that year, around that time, Suikoden, it wins.
I just feel like if the series were to come back now, could it match what that golden generation that it had? Like, when you have a story that you've just gone up and up and up,
it would have to be done carefully, but I think it could, for sure. I hear a lot of people say the words golden age of gaming, but I don't believe the golden age has ended. I just think that we don't look at games the same, and there are a lot of like streamlined series now, especially like Call of Duty and things like that, where they're just trying to make money, and that's all it's all about. But
I'm not saying that the golden age of gaming is over. I'm saying Suikoden did go through a golden
Traveler coming
period.
out soon. Dragon Quest is still going strong. I think there's a market for it. Like, wow, like me and Mike just said that at the same time. That was weird. But yeah, I do think there's a market for it still. But Konami is the problem.
I just had an idea. Let's say we were to make a game. Let's say there's a game, but not necessarily a game.
Spiritual success, church, cough, cough, cough.
No, but let's say, and technically there's nothing wrong with me actually saying this on camera, because technically there's nothing actually wrong with me saying this at all. Let's say you were to make a game based on an area that Suikoden hasn't covered, like the Western continent, but you don't name it the Western continent, and you name a game, you make your own kind of game. It's got similar concepts to Suikoden, similar, but nothing that's covered under the copyright.
Let me just throw this by you.
Under the copyright.
I'm gonna just ask people to not steal this, but I kind of did that already.
Yeah.
I was working on a game for, and the only really finished it is because I just don't have the skills to do it on my own. But I actually was working on a game with RPG Maker taking place in the Western continent, and it was very much basically what you just said. And I went on and off of calling it Suikoden to calling it something else to back to calling it Suikoden. I've also played fan games on the internet that are very much like that as well.
You know what's funny?
I think
Konami don't own the name Suikoden.
I honestly believe this. The only way we're going to see a new Suikoden game is if fans make it.
And I think we should.
That is something that I'm willing to do if there was enough people working on it.
I think what we need to do...
I could bring to the table it would be as a writer, because that's where my skills lie. But
as much as I'd love to work on the story, I think I'd be more suited to doing the music.
I agree.
Like,
plus,
I love the story, but we can't have too many people.
We would need original music. That was something that I couldn't do myself. I'm also not very good. I'm not very good. I'm not a very good animator. So, like, those are the types of people you would need, right? And, like, we wouldn't obviously be able to call it Suikoden if we wanted to make any
Then we don't have to. Then we don't
it.
have to.
And I'm not saying we have to make money, nor am I saying that we have to call it Suikoden.
I don't care about making money for this. I just want to
what I think in my head is like a spiritual successor type of idea, very similar to Exit Fate, only...
Water Margin Legends. Why not? Water Margin's not a copyrighted title. It's not a title where you...
That's something I think we could definitely discuss more in the future with you guys, with fans on Suikoden Tavern, because it's something I've definitely thought about before, more than once, way more than once.
Yeah, I've been trying to make a Suikoden fan game for years. Like, when I say for years, I've been trying and trying. And I tell you, do you know, there might be a way we can unite all the fans. Like, I can tell you right now, several groups making fan games, obviously, like...
I would honestly like to ask Riley. I wish I could.
He's making a game now. It's based on real world, but he's making a game right now as we speak.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, that's something we can talk about more too.
Yeah. Like, we can talk about
this was an inevitable conversation because I knew it was going to come up eventually. But I was just like, I wanted to see what people kind of thought, so it's good to hear that a lot of people think that's a good idea.
Can I just, actually, no, I won't mention this strain.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Unless you basically bluntly say this is a Suikoden-like game, and we're doing this as a spiritual successor. People have done that with, look at Ukulele. They've straight up said this is a Banjo-Kazooie successor, and it was fairly well received because fans of the original came to it. So I think from a marketing standpoint, we would have to outright say, yeah, but I don't know. As I said,
Mike is what the Konami would have our asses. Like, they just be like, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, we couldn't do that. I know what you're saying. We couldn't do that to make money.
No way.
But I'm not thinking about making money at all. I just want, I think, what a lot of people want, which is to see.
Yeah, but Mighty Number 9.
That's something we would have to talk about off the podcast.
Yeah, that's what.
A group of people.
Well, do you guys
off to the side type of thing?
Do you guys want me to invite you all to my chat, the gamers? I've got my own channel. Like, we can even talk about that there if you guys want to, not want every person on Suikoden Tavern to hear, And you know what? The thing is, a lot of games, if you want to make money...
You don't necessarily need money. I think you need time, and I think it's more you need time. Like, a lot of us are busy, and that's why it was always hard for me. There's programs out there you can use to make games for free and make money off them. RPG Maker is the one that comes to mind. So I don't think that you necessarily need money, but it helps.
Well, I honestly think the thing is that if we made it as a game with... Oh, okay. Well, I was getting this streaming a few minutes anyway, because it was meant to be about 2 hours.
We've been talking for so long. I just looked at my phone. I was like, holy mackerel. We've been talking for over 2 hours. But
the problem is that we'll never be able to buy Suikoden.
We should talk about it more on the Discord channel, because then we can get ideas rolling and at least just see where people are at with it.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. Look, off the podcast...
I don't want to get sued by Konami by accident.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Just kidding.
But... That's awesome. But, how I see it, look, off the podcast, I reckon I can tell you guys all of the developers I know who are making fan games, pure fan games, not making money, and who we may be able to attract to a team.
Oh, okay. I never heard of that. Yeah, that's something we can definitely discuss. I'm trying to figure out how to... I don't know if everybody in the chat is already a member.
Just get my channel as well if you want.
You should send personal cams with them, unless you want 100 people joining it. Just trying to remember how to do this. Here we go.
What's your Discord? And I'm talking to the assassin.
I'm going to put mine in the chat. Oh, I can't. Okay, if you put that link in the chat, then they can join up if they aren't already. And I also put my Discord link in our personal chat that we're using on Discord. And we can have many conversations just like this.
Yay! Yeah, but not every conversation has to be recorded.
Yeah, I'm fine with my face too. I just don't currently have... I just couldn't figure out how to do it in time. But we'll get around to doing that too. Oh yeah, and my Facebook is Zach Gloucester. If anybody wants to friend me, I am always happy to chat. So yeah, that's all the time I have. I have to take off now.
Yeah, I'm going to be heading off as well. thanks everyone for coming on to the chat. Like, it was really good. Oh well, I have
to those of you watching in the future, thank you so much for joining in, and please don't forget to leave a like. It's not necessary, but we would really appreciate it.
And
we'll be doing this way more often. So.
Yeah, we're not just doing it once a week. We've organized it for Wednesday and Saturday.
Tuesday my time.
Yeah.
It's really Canadian time. Okie dokie. Okay, I gotta take off now. We'll talk later.
Yep.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, Zach. Bye. And maybe before I... Yeah, we'll start doing that. I don't know, before I switch off for I turn it off, I'll play a bit of music. I'll play one more song. You guys know this one. That is all for today, guys. Hey, thank you. Have a good one. And I'll see you guys later this week then, and I'll update everything. So, yep. Thanks for coming on and obviously participating with us. It's really good to have you guys here. Have a good day and also a good night. Bye.